live now, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, members, and welcome to this joint scrutiny on the 19th of January 2026. This meeting will be live streamed and a recording made available to view via the Council's website, except for discussions involving confidential or exempt items. Therefore, the images, audio of those individuals speaking will be publicly available to all via the recording on the Council's website. Okay, members, to the agenda. Item 1, to receive apologies for absence. Mark?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, we've had apologies from Councillors Bissek, Foster, Evans, James, Mann, Parry and Whitcomb. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. Item 2, declarations of interest. Councillors and officers are reminded of the personal responsibility to declare any personal or prejudicial interest in respect of any item of business on this agenda, in accordance with the Local Government Act 2000, the Council's Constitution and the Code of Conduct for both councillors and officers. Are there any declarations?
Only one hand raised, Chair. Councillor Judith Pritchard.
Okay, Councillor Pritchard. What would you like to declare?
Sorry. Chair, I can't hear you. I know you're talking, but it's very, very faint.
Okay, I can't talk any louder or else everyone will leave, Judith. So I don't know, it must be something to do with your mute or your...
Perhaps if she could log out and then rejoin the meeting.
Can you maybe log out and rejoin? Councillor Enright.
Chair, I had the same issue. I logged out and logged back in and it was working fine, but I couldn't hear you. I could see you and I know you were talking, but there's a mic button at the bottom of the laptop as well, so that might be reduced as well. Hope that helps.
No.
Try doing the minutes now, Chair, and we'll see if they could hear you. Was it using that mic?
Okay, we would... Can you... Any better, boy? Any better, Gary? Judith?
I can hear you fine now, sir. I logged out and logged back in.
So, Judith, can you do the same then, please? Okay.
No other hands raised, Chair, regarding declarations of interest.
Okay, thank you. Then we'll go on to item 3, to sign the following minutes of the joint scrutiny held on the 1st of December 2025. There's 5 pages. This is for accuracy only. We're not having a debate on them. So page 1. Page 2. Page 3. Page 4. Page 5. No, can I have a move in a seconder, please?
Happy to move, Chair.
I second, Chair.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Williams.
Okay, to the vote then, please. Okay, it's on your screen. For against. If you weren't here, just abstain. Yeah. 4. Councillor Jeremiah. Anyone else here? No. No.
Yeah, Councillor Gordon for.
Okay, thank you.
That's carried, Chair. 33 votes for, including 2 verbal, no votes against and 6 abstentions.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, members, on to item 4, update on the reserves. Councillor Leonard Stenner.
Thank you, Chair. This report provides joint scrutiny with details of the reserves held by the Council. Details are provided of balances held as at the 31st of March 2025, along with updates to reflect in-year movements and recommended movements on reserves. The recommendations are shown at 3.1 of the report. the joint scrutiny note the net 25-26 revenue overspend position at £2.641 million at Q2. Note the forecast decrease in reserves from 25-26 to 26-27. Note that it is recommended in the draft budget proposals 26-27 that in the event of a net revenue underspend in 25-26, 100% of the net underspend is transferred to the general fund to support the 26-27, although at Q2 projections suggest that there will be an overspend. Endorse the repurposing of releasing of reserves as detailed in Table 8, paragraphs 5.14.4 and in Appendix 3 to repurpose release £4.091 million of other earmarked reserves, £1.223 million to the cleaning and greening reserve, £168,000 to the energy efficiency team reserve, £451,000 to the general fund, £2.249 million to an investor save reserve, release £69,000 from education overspend reserve to general fund, release £258,000 from the corporate overspend reserve to the general fund. I move.
Okay, thank you. Okay, members, open for debate. Any questions? Councillor Bishop.
Thank you, Chair. I've got two. Shall I just do one at a time?
Yeah, please.
Okay. Under section 3.1, establishing the purpose of the investor save reserve is that delegated spending to the chief executive and the cabinet without scrutiny to public consultation or council vote. Can you provide details on how these projects protect the democratic process and public accountability, please?
Okay. Leanne?
Thank you. Yeah, the delegations are set out in the report, and then the process for how that will be done is also included in the report. I'm just trying to see where it is in the report. There is a process set out in there about how the investor save will be decided upon. It's got a payback period, and it will all be about supporting the future savings to close the MTFP gap.
But no public consultation on the spend or scrutiny or council voting.
Yeah, as though the reserve is delegated for that purpose.
Second question.
Yeah, carry on.
In light of the growing number of schools forecast to be in a deficit and the financial pressure on education within the report, I would like to hear more about the Council's long-term financial sustainability and revenue strategy to safeguard our current education provisions and prevent further pressure on schools.
Okay, is that Sue or Mike? Rob?
Yeah, thank you, Chair, and thank you, Councillor, for the question. So you'll be aware, I would think, that we did take a report into Education and Social Services Scrutiny in November, outlining school balances. So this was to make sure that all members, many members are school governors, but to make sure that all members had the opportunity to be cited on the position with school balances. So we are working closely with schools, and we do see, as you're highlighting, we do see a worsening position in terms of school balances, but we're not out of step with the rest of Wales. We're sort of in the middle of the pack. So Scrutiny Committee asked that we establish a member working group to look at this issue, to consider surplus places. Obviously, that's linked to school balances. So we've got another report going into Scrutiny Committee later this month with terms of reference and just outlining the structure for that working group and the way forward for that working group. So we'll have a piece of work to take forward through the rest of this year. We do work hard to support schools with their financial planning and modelling, and the proposals that are included within the draft budget proposals. So in the next report on the agenda, have been fully discussed with schools. We are proposing a piece of work to review the school funding formula because we think there are some inconsistencies in that currently, and we think that we can make some improvements to that to support schools. We're planning to establish a mentoring arrangement. So there are some heads that head teachers and other school leadership staff who are very experienced at financial management and planning, and we want to share some of that learning across our schools. It's an approach that we take with lots of aspects of the education system, where head teachers who are strong in certain areas mentor head teachers in other areas. So we are alive to the issue, and we've got a number of interventions in train to support our schools.
Thank you. So then obviously these pressures are also coming under fire because of the increase in additional learning needs within schools. However, I wasn't really asking about what the ESA report was referring to. What I was asking was, and I wasn't asking about the rest of it, what can we do in Caerphilly to support our children in our schools? Because I don't want them falling behind, and they are my responsibility. Thank you.
Okay, do you want to reply to that, Rob?
I don't think I really have anything to add to what I've already said. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Councillor Eid, please.
Good evening. Thanks very much, Chair. I've got 3 questions, but before I ask them,
Let's go for 2 then, please, and keep one. We can come back.
Just 2, is it? You're going to let me have? All right, okay. But before that, I just want to make a point that we only got these papers on Tuesday, which was 6 days, 4 working days ago. I've only had a chance to sit down and look at it on Sunday. I spent most of Sunday on these papers. So could I put a plea to officers to try to provide members with papers more, ideally 7 days before, so we get a chance to do our jobs properly and scrutinise the papers properly, and this doesn't just become a tick box exercise. I think scrutiny is really important. So question number 1 is, on section 3.1, there's multiple recommendations, I think 5 or 6 if you take the sub recommendations into account, including changes to policy, repurposing of reserves, and delegation of authority. So could officers explain why these have been bundled together and which elements represent a material change in governance rather than simply noting financial information? That's the first question.
Yep. So all of these proposals are within cabinet approvals. They've been put forward for transparency, but it is for cabinet to approve what those earmarked reserves are spent on.
Okay, so just for our information, we can't scrutinise those recommendations because it's a cabinet decision.
It's a cabinet decision. Yes, that's correct.
Okay. My second question then, if I can come in with a third one later, Gary, is you've held the general fund again at 3%, which is the absolute minimum allowable. Was there any consideration given to holding a higher level, considering the state of the gap between the budget gap at the moment? And, that would give us a higher level of resilience. And what would be the practical trade-off in terms of investment or on council tax of a higher minimum fund?
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, so we recommended a 3% one because it's a prudent amount, say for risks and emergencies. But alongside that, we have also allocated a 1.9 million for social services, particularly around demand pressures, because that's very difficult to forecast. And remember, we do have the MTFP contingency reserve as well, which can help us manage any savings delivery issues. And then there is the Investor Save reserve that we just discussed, which is about helping us to close the gap in future years.
Okay, thanks,
thank
Liam.
you. Okay, Councillor Morgan.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. It's welcome to see this this budget year, and the pressures have been slightly released. That the change from 35 million of pressures down to 8 million is welcomed, but it obviously still leaves councils having to deal with austerity. There's absolutely no doubt about that. With the Investor Save money being delegated to officers in the cabinet, I fully support that. Given the speed at which we have to find those savings, it does have to be, decisions do have to be made quickly on such things. But I would like to ask, on the Investor Save initiatives, could any officers outline some of the ideas that we are likely to be looking at for those investor saves? Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Mark?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councillor Morgan, for the question. Obviously, members will see, particularly in the next report around the budget, transformation projects, transformation targets, and some of those transformation projects in certain circumstances do need a little bit of sort of pump priming to achieve savings, bigger savings further down the line. So one example, Councillor Morgan, would be to use an investor save reserve to perhaps pump prime a transformation project or transformation initiative that will result in much bigger continuous savings further down the line, if that helps.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Councillor Gary Enright.
Thanks, Chair. Got a bit of an observation, if I may, which does lead into a question. So if you can bear with me. Had a look at, my observation relates to Table 1, page 10. And it relates to the usable reserve balance. So what I actually did, I went back on last year's papers, and 2025, it was projected that we'd have 133 million left in our reserves. So if you look at the table in front of you, it is clearly 169 million. So that's up 38 million. 2026 projected 71 million last year. We've now got 99 million. So that's up 28 million. 27, where are we looking? 27, 58 million. We're now projected at 62 million. So that's up 4 million. So I've got a little bit of a concern in the way these reserves are projected, if I'm completely honest with you. So my question relates to how can members distinguish between reserves that are fully committed and those that are allocated but not contractually committed when the projected reserve balances do not meet expectation or projection?
Okay.
Thanks, Chair.
Leanne?
Okay, thank you. So obviously with a forecast can always change. If we actually look at the balance, it was from 24-25 to 25-26, the reserves actually reduced by 20 million. I also think it's really important to point out these are not usable reserves. They are our total reserves. And if you look, we've tried to make it easier to read this year so that we've clearly identified which ones are risk and contingency reserves, which ones are ring-fence reserves, which means they can only go on specific purposes and often come with terms and conditions, and which ones are other earmark reserves. So you'll see that all reserves are allocated, and about 70% of those reserves are either risk and contingency reserves or ring-fence, so they're not able for use. Like I said, forecasts change. We could get in additional grant funding that enables us to maximise the grant funding and reduce our borrowing or reduce the use of our own reserves. And we will always look to maximise external funding first. In terms of setting out whether things are contractually committed, we have taken that on board, and that is now presented further down in the report on a separate table. So we have actually split out the other earmarked reserves and made it very clear which ones are contractually committed. And for 31st of March 26, there is actually only £10 million of the reserves that are not contractually committed. They could be contractually committed, but they could span a number of financial years. And obviously, as you know, particularly with capital schemes, there can be slippage, which means we have to kind of move between the financial years.
Okay.
Thanks, Chair.
No. Are you sure now? Yeah. Okay. Councillor Dix, then, please.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, just a quick question if you'd carry on this investor save. Can the officers give me any examples where we've invested a pot of money and we've saved money because of that investment? So if I invested £1 million or £500,000, and how much did we save over a period of time? So I look at examples really of the benefits of this, and I'm sure officers can find some for me.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I don't have a specific example for you, but I can give you the range of ones. So we've done a lot with energy efficiency schemes, and that's had revenue savings in terms of our energy costs, both in leisure centres and across our estate.
Oh, is it possible you could send some examples to me, please?
Yeah, absolutely.
How much was invested and how much was saved, yeah?
Okay,
yeah,
I get Liz. Look, she might give
Thank you.
Liz?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, and another area that we have had success in, which members have been aware of through our show and tells on a Wednesday morning, is the investment in some AI licenses and the return on investment we've had both in value of releasing staff time to do other work, but also making savings within service areas, so we can follow that through as well. But the old digital agenda now, members, will provide you with the opportunities to invest in technology, invest in AI that should release savings, both cashable and non-cashable savings within the local authority. And that's the work of the transformation programme as we go forward.
Okay, thank you.
If I could have some examples, I'd appreciate that as well. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Teresa Aaron, please.
Thank you, Chair. If I could ask, please, how our reserves compare to the CIPFA and their guidance and with similar local authorities? Thank you.
Yeah.
Yep, so all our reserves are categorised in line with SIPFA guidance and in line with their guidance on financial resilience. This is why we keep our contingent and risk reserves. And as I said, all the other reserves are earmarked to specific projects and programmes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Shane Williams.
Thanks very much, Chair. Just a clarification. On page, Appendix 1, I think it's page, it was the first table anyway in Appendix 1, capital earmarked reserves. It says Ponton Firth demolition. Is that the leisure centre that's earmarked for demolition? Is that reserves for that, or?
Mr. Williams, or yeah,
that would have been the reserve earmarked for demolition of the school, Chair, and actually the budget I think has been taken anyway. Because obviously the work on the school is pretty much complete in terms of demolition.
I thought it might have been the school, but when it just said Ponton Firth, I wasn't sure. Thanks.
You okay with that? Okay. Okay, no others? Okay then, members, we'll go to the vote on this. Can I have a move in a seconder then? Don't all put your hands up at once
I'll
now.
move.
Okay, thank you.
Happy to second.
Okay, thank you. Okay, to the vote then, please.
So that's carried, Chair. 36 votes for, 1 verbal vote against, and 6 abstentions.
Okay, thank you. Okay, members, draft proposals for 25-26. Councillor Leonard Sterner, Cabinet Member for Finance and Performance.
Thank you, Chair. The purpose of the report is to present scrutiny with details of the draft budget proposals for 26-27 financial year to allow for a period of consultation prior to a final decision by Council on the 24th of February 26. The settlement from Welsh Government provides this authority with an additional £24.641 million. This uplift is welcome but remains significantly below the Council's total cost pressures and growth of £43.641 million. To deliver a balanced budget, the proposals include a package of savings proposals and targets, a 3% increase in fees and charges, and a proposed 6.25% increase in council tax. This draft budget for 26-27 does not require the one-off use of reserves. This strengthens financial sustainability and allows reserves to be directed towards targeted one-off investment, including investor save initiatives. Targeted growth of £690,000 has been included to support a review of fees for kinship carers, improving financial support, stability and outcomes for children and young people. Additional growth of £1.365 million has also been provided to enhance the Cleaning and Greener programme, increasing investment to £2 million for 26-27 and 27-28 to improve the visual environment of the county borough. An updated medium-term financial plan identifies a projected funding gap of over £8 million across 27-28 and 28-29, even after factoring in anticipated transformation savings targets. Overall, the scale of the financial challenge reinforces the need for sustained organisational transformation, disciplined financial management, and a continued focus on long-term sustainability. And the recommendations are shown at 3.1 to 3.16. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Members, before I come to you, we have two external speakers. First of all, Leanne Dallimore, Branch Secretary for Unison. Okay, 5 minutes, Leanne.
Good evening, Chair, members. Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight on behalf of Unison and GMB trade unions. The UK has gradually moved to a situation where core public services are in crisis, with squeezed budgets and rising unmet demand. These are words of a recently commissioned report by Unison, developed by APSI, on the future of local government services in Wales. It makes for stark reading. It proves the argument that trade unions have been putting forward for over 15 years, that many of the services that have disappeared from local authorities or have been drastically reduced has resulted in soaring demand for acute services, much of which could have been avoided had preventative services not been cut to the bone. And we must not forget that at the heart of these services that are being slashed are local authority staff, my members and GMB members. Based on recent ONS workforce data in Caerphilly, if we look at funding levels against staffing changes from 2008 to 2024, we have seen a funding change in real terms of -5%, yet a staffing change of -16%. We have cut staff faster than budgets, yet demand has not decreased. Fewer staff are expected to do more, and this burden is becoming enormously stressful. So sadly, the budget proposals we see here tonight does not fill us in Unison or GMB with any comfort, as once again we see cuts to staff and cuts to preventative services. Unfortunately, the 5-minute time allocation tonight does not allow us to comment on all the budget proposals we would have liked to, so we have highlighted a few which we believe have the most profound impact. Firstly, schools. A 1% saving target, the removal of central behaviour support team and the removal of a specialist support team. Many of our schools are already in a deficit position. Where will this 1% come from? It will either manifest itself on the backs of our already overstretched school staff, see a deterioration in buildings and cleaning, or through a decline in educational provision, or possibly all of them. Is this what we really want for our children and grandchildren? Next, I would like to turn to losing key managers from the Caerphilly Cares team. These individuals are not just supervisors, they are frontline leaders. They work directly with people, delivering services and providing hands-on support where it matters most. They don't just manage projects, they create them, they develop them, and they often deliver them personally. Without their expertise, many of these vital initiatives would shrink and eventually disappear. And that's only part of their contribution. They manage hundreds of volunteers who support the council, and losing them would mean losing that expertise. Let's not see the loss of another preventative service and reap the cost further down the line. Now I'd like to turn to the proposed restructure of our policy unit. The proposed restructure will result in the loss of 2 posts, half of a team. and will severely compromise the council's ability to meet its statutory duties at a time when the council is due to start a new wellbeing assessment and planning cycle with implications for our local communities, and refreshing our vital relationship with the third sector. It is our policy team that helps to deliver this work, so if they don't, who will? And members, we have budget proposal HE21, restructure of CCTV to provide a more efficient service delivery, no change to provision. Members, this proposal has been the subject of some debate over the past few days, and in section 8 and 12 of the Integrated Impact Assessment, it clearly states that the proposal is to reduce the hours that the CCTV control room is manned in order to introduce budget savings. Tonight we are being consulted on what is in the public domain, and this is the proposal that is in the public domain. If this happens, the operational impact of this will be huge. No urgent assistance for the police, the Charters Bridge not monitored leading to undetected suicide attempts, no monitoring of antisocial behaviour during these times. With community safety wardens dissolved, this is even more important. High-risk missing persons will not be looked for, and daytime crime will not be proactively monitored. Members, if we are serious about getting the basics right, then feeling safe and secure in our communities is a cornerstone of this. Finally, Chair, Unison and GMB will be working closely with our HR colleagues on the review proposed of standby, overtime, excess mileage and subsistence payments, as these are there are a number of factors that require close examination. Thank you for listening tonight.
Okay, thank you, Liam. Okay, calm down, please. Miriam Kamish from the Caerphilly Trades Council, I think.
If anybody wants any of these leaflets, there's some here, just so you know what we were talking about. And
I won't take that off your 5 minutes now, okay, Miriam?
I hope not, just give
No,
me
okay.
these documents, please.
Oh, can't take a joke then, okay. Right, 5 minutes, please.
Chair, councillors, I refer you to Appendix 4 of the budget proposals before you, Corporate and Regeneration Reference Number CR01 Libraries. That and the question of reserves are the points I'll be speaking to. My name is Mariam Kamish. I'm the Secretary of Caerphilly Trades Council, and I also lead the campaign to save the 10 threatened libraries, which, thanks to our ongoing judicial review, are still open. Now, according to Appendix 4, you stand to save just over £477,492 over 3 years if the council closes the 10 threatened libraries. 2 points on this. First of all, as you'll see from our leaflet, that savings would amount to just 1/3 of 0.1% of the net revenue budget of just over £500 million, a tiny percentage, and even more so if net revenue means that the 500 million does not include other forms of income from fees and investments. What that adds up to is there is no financial need to close the libraries. Now let's accept for the sake of argument that when your strategists first floated the idea in November 2024 of closing down local libraries in favour of centralised hubs, then they didn't appreciate the harm that would cause. But over a year later, after all the public protests, the very well-attended library festival, our Save the Libraries Fun Day, march, occupation, thousands of signatures on petitions, press coverage, and last but far from least, a drubbing from your candidate, for your candidate in the Senate by-election, after countless people asked canvassers on the doors, what about the libraries? After all that, I'd suggest that it might be time to change policy before it's too late. Which brings me to my second point. It's not too late. You know, the 10 libraries are still open, and I'd like to note here...
No, excuse me, right, we made it quite clear.
I'm speaking on this...
No, you've gone way over and above what you were supposed to on the library.
I'm speaking on the...
You either change and talk about today's budget.
This is about today's budget.
No, you've strayed into a decision that's already been made. It's your choice. You either change on the budget or you leave it.
Okay, the point I'd make, Chair...
No, you've made your point. we've heard. So move on or finish.
5 minutes for a public response.
And you were made quite clear it was not on a excuse me, can you be quiet? Can you be quiet or you can leave?
We don't even have our 5 minutes. Okay.
It's up to you. No.
Well, I'll tell you what. Okay, I'm speaking on the budget here
Right,
now.
on the budget now.
That is why this campaign is calling on councillors to break ranks and table a motion to overturn last year's cabinet decision and vote to keep our libraries in the public sector.
Right, can you sit down, please? Your time's up. End off. You were told finish.
Well, I was going to say that we aren't.
No, you're not going to say anymore.
That we aren't
Go and
living
sit
in
down,
a Trump
please.
style.
Go and sit down.
But perhaps I was mistaken. Perhaps we are living in
Ah,
a style dystopia already.
Okay.
Don't toe the party line. Think of your seats. You're up for
Be
election.
quiet or you will be. You can leave the chamber. You can leave the chamber. Excuse me, what was that? Right, can you leave the chamber, please? Right. I'm going to suspend this meeting until the chamber's cleared, okay? Right, Mark. So can we remove them from the public gallery, please? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll be as quickly as I can. I will not try and repeat what Leanne Dallimore have said. I will look at one proposal, and in order to be helpful and reasonable, I have sent an email to yourselves and officers in regarding my concerns on the control room. I understand a memo was sent to the control room staff which said to not staff the control room during the hours of 8:45 to 3 p.m. Monday to Fridays, except bank holidays, single staff night shifts, Sunday to Thursday. That concerned me, Chair, regarding sort of lone working. We then had the impact integrated assessment, where an officer stated, reduction in the staffing of the CCT control room from 427 hours to 341 hours. This will result in reduction of hours and the possible loss of posts. And then we have a third piece of evidence, which was sent by the police, making representations, and the leader was copied in here, so was the chief executive, with a number of concerns raised about the CCTV room, how it would be awful and particular concern in reduction of manning hours. They couldn't track movements, potentially reducing the chances of what's going to happen. They raised concern about the Charters Bridge. They also raised concern about frontline policing resources. And they also raised concerns about undermining public safety, investigation effectiveness, and safeguarding concerns regarding town centres. What I'd like to do now, Chair, I appreciate the officer will want to respond. I've also seen some correspondence which says that they're going to possibly look at reductions of 20% in the CCT room. I appreciate, Chair, almost finished, Gary. I appreciate, Chair, that this is only a proposal, but it has caused significant concern amongst not myself, other councillors. And what I'd like to do tonight, and please correct me if I'm wrong, I would like to put a verbal motion down to recommend to Cabinet that no reduction in any of the hours or the working times for staff in the CCT room. And that's my motion. I don't know if anybody will second it.
I will second that.
But
John Jones, I'll second it.
But as I say, I'm trying to go quicker. But as I said, that must be a recommendation from the Scrutiny Committee to Cabinet. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the comments, Councillor Etheridge. As you're fully aware from the responses you've already received from me, as have all other members, there are no intentions to leave that CCTV room unmanned at any time. They are looking at efficiencies, but it will be manned 24/7 as it is already. Thank you.
So, Mr. Lloyd, so that is a guarantee that there won't be one person there in the evenings on lone working, and any of this report which went out to staff will now be withdrawn, and you will notify staff that the proposal is totally withdrawn from the budget reductions. Is that what you're saying?
No, I am not saying that at all. What I am saying is the answers have already been provided to all members, and the CCTV room will continue to be manned, and we are looking at efficiencies there.
My apologies, the mic went off. Is there any of these questions to do with the CCTV? Because I want to deal with this first. Then we can move on to the rest of the budget.
Chair, I'd like to ask about CCTV if I could, just to confirm a few figures.
Go on, John.
Diolch yn fawr, thank you, and thank you, Marcus. I don't want to cause offence, and I don't want to scaremonger. I just want to understand. I know we've got some of the figures. Can I ask, at this moment in time, so that we all understand, how many officers have we got manning that control centre at a given time? How many officers have we got in number now? I know years ago we used to have 3 on a shift. How many have we now?
Marcus?
That's my first question.
Okay.
Thank you for the question, Councillor. It varies on the different shifts, but we have 2 members on some shifts and 3 members on other shifts.
Thank you. Second question, how many cameras have we got feeding into that place?
How many cameras?
I'm not sure off the top of my head. I'm looking around at a couple of officers who may know.
Yeah, if I can just sort of help you with that. I used to have some involvement with the CCTV control room. So it's something like 150 public open space cameras, but the CCTV control room also monitors dial-up alarms for certain premises, council premises, and some of our schools as well. So they're able to access then additional cameras when they dial into those systems if the alarms are activated.
Thank you. Just a comment then, if I may. I'll shut up on the rest until it's appropriate meeting. That sounds to me like an awful lot of cameras going into one CCTV centre, where a few years ago we had 3 members on a shift, and these days some shifts we've got 1, some shifts we've got 2. It's an awful lot of eyeball going on by one officer looking at all those cameras. I know they tour. I know we don't get them all at the same time. We are putting an awful lot of pressure on 1 or 2 members of staff that are doing a very valid job and are rarely recognised. We are going to be putting more pressure and more pressure. I've got a bias on this. And I'm sorry for that, but I'll say it now. I'm only one councillor. I've got a bias on this as a ward member because recently, and I'm grateful we've kept some of the CCTV coverage that we've kept, but recently we've lost a few. Okay? That's as a ward member. As a school governor, a few years ago, one of the schools that I'm involved with, the yard was flooded. We had to evacuate the terrapins, and we could have done with better CCTV coverage. A little bit after that, a perimeter wall went down. Also, and that's me speaking as a governor, and here it comes now, too much information maybe, but I'm also going to speak as a parent, and I'm only going to say one line, and you will then all know what I'm on about when I say Chartist Bridge, Blackwood. I leave it there. That's my bias. Diolch yn fawr.
Thank you, John. Marcus?
Just to clarify, Chair, that I didn't say there is only single man at any time. The shifts at the moment are 2 people and 3 people shifts. There may be occasions where we may have issues with sickness absence, but we look to cover those shifts where we can.
Okay,
thank you, Marcus. Diolch yn fawr.
Okay, Councillor Forehead.
Thank you, Chair. Can I just ask Mr. Lloyd, please? We've heard a lot tonight about single persons lone working, and the risks that are there. Can I ask, what are the risks of lone working within the CCTV room in comparison to, say, a social worker going out on an initial child protection visit?
Okay.
Thank you for the question, Councillor Forehead. This is a personal opinion. There would be risk assessments in place for those for both instances. But if you're in an office, in a locked environment, where no one can get at you looking at cameras, I would say that is definitely safer than if you're out in the community providing a service on your own.
Thank you, Mr. Lloyd. That's what I thought.
Chair, is it possible that I could speak on the CCTV?
Yeah, you can.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, I'd just like to reiterate what Councillor Ever just said. You know, CCTV is very important, especially in a town like Blackwood. Covers the bus station, Charters Bridge, etc. And we know that the police are not out. We don't have bobbies on the beat like we used to. A lot of the time, they use CCTV cameras and the footage gathered there to help solve crimes and convict. So it is a vital part of modern policing. And like I say, we don't have the bobbies on the beat anymore, and it's becoming more and more important as we go forward. I think that we have these in place to help the police and keep our streets and communities safe. I'd just like to ask the officer, Marcus, if anything's going to be, there's going to be no cuts, how are they going to save money in the CCTV room if there's going to be no reduction in hours or staffing or any of that? How is he going to do it? Is he going to turn all the lights off or the heating? I don't know. What's he going to do?
He didn't say there was going to be no cuts. Marcus, do you want to answer?
Exactly what you said, Chair. I've not said that there wouldn't be any cuts. I've already said that we would be looking at efficiencies in the way the service is delivered. It will be data-driven decisions based on when we can see from lots of history of where we get the interactions with the members of the public, when we need as much coverage as possible. As you can imagine, a day shift on a Monday may need less coverage from 6 o'clock in the morning until lunchtime than a night shift on a Saturday night, which would need a lot more coverage. So any decision we make will be data-driven.
Okay.
Can I just ask one supplementary question, if I could, Chair, and I'll leave you to it then. Can I ask that any changes or any proposals are put to the police for their consultation on how they think that those changes could impact the service that they provide, keeping the public safe?
I think they will be, but yeah. Marcus, I take it that's... Oh, Ed? Chief?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Yes, they will be shared, and they'll be shared between myself and the Chief Constable. I'm conscious that the response that members have seen to date is from a sergeant, so it's important that we engage at the right levels. So you've got my commitment. I will engage Chief Constable Hober on that.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll move on from that. We'll come back to the motion at the end from Kevin. And
Chair,
Kevin,
can I just come in on the CCTV? Sorry to butt in.
Yeah, of course you can.
Yeah, just a quick question to Marcus. Are we looking to remove any CCTV cameras then, Marcus, if we're looking to reduce the provision?
Marcus?
We've got no intention of... the cameras generally, a lot of them may be not under our control, as in they are put in for other purposes by service areas. But at the moment, we have no intention of removing cameras at this point in time that I'm aware of.
Chair, can I come in there quickly? And I'm sorry to be rude and interfere.
Quickly, John.
Okay, it's just to confirm then, please, if I may, Marcus. There might not be any more plans, but some cameras have been done away with over the last 18 months, haven't they? Throughout the county borough. I know that they have, because some have been done away with in my Aber Valley. So can you confirm, please, that some have actually been taken away already, ready for this?
Yeah,
in response to that, Chair, I can confirm that some cameras have been removed, but also
Thank you very much.
I also can confirm that some cameras have been added as well.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Councillor Judith Pritchard.
Is it possible that I come in on the
No,
camera?
come on, Councillor Judith Pritchard.
Thank you. I've got two social services questions
Okay.
under the cost pressures 535, and it's about provider fees. These are fees for people who provide for vulnerable adults and elderly adults. And I actually had a communication from one of these local providers, and we're looking to link the increase in fees, which is part of the cost pressures, to the national living wage, but we don't seem to be taking any account of the extra expenses that providers have. For instance, national insurance, employers' national insurance increases, council tax, utility bills increases, etc. So I'm wondering whether I think we need to point out also that we're only giving them the money for the national living wage, which is less than what the council pay, which is the foundation living wage. So we're not treating our providers the same as we treat ourselves. Have the providers been consulted, and have they actually agreed to this increase, which I think some of them feel is totally inadequate? So can you answer that first, and then I've got another social services question as well.
Rob or Joe or Rob?
Yes, thank you, Councillor. So I think the reference there to national living wage is just giving an example of some of the representations that we've received from providers about the pressures that they're facing. And we are in dialogue, so it's not a question really of consulting with them on our budget proposals, but we are in dialogue with providers about the pressures and about the challenges, the financial challenges that they're facing. So there are a number of, in particular, a common theme is costs around salary pressures that includes the national living wage, and we are proposing that there would be an above inflation growth above inflation to allow us to meet those additional costs that our providers are facing.
Okay, Judith.
Yeah, can I come back on that? Yes,
Yeah.
but you have got a sum. You've got a sum in the cost pressures. So you must have consulted already to come up with some kind of figure. Are you saying that this figure is, interim, and that actually when we come to the budget when we vote for the budget in a full council meeting, this figure will have been changed?
So no, it's a projection based on our understanding of the market and what our providers are telling us, and the experience in other local authority areas. I don't know whether Leanne, as Director of Finance, has anything further to add, or any other colleagues that are online.
Yeah, I'll just add that absolutely is a forecast. So we work with them on, like we say, we make an assessment. So it's a forecast figure that's in there based on our latest projections.
Okay, thanks. The second question is about the Gwent frailty, which is adult services as well. Now, Gwent frailty, 25 years ago, was the next best thing. I mean, it was a new idea, and we had people from elsewhere coming to visit our Gwent frailty because they thought it was the solution to keeping people out of hospital and hospital discharge. But I see here that we're taking money out of the Gwent frailty budget, which is a Pan-Gwent scheme, because we're saying that there's a recurring underspend due to staffing vacancies, which we're unable to recruit to. Now, can you give me any idea of what these vacancies are and how this is affecting delayed discharges?
Rob?
So Joe Williams, the Director of Adult Services, is online. I mean, you're absolutely right. This is a service that has been in place for quite a number of years, and the nature of the service has changed. So there are now, whilst it is true that we do have a recurring underspend because we're unable to recruit into posts, some of what would have been the former service users, their needs are actually being met by other provision. But as I say, Joe Williams should be online and perhaps can tell you a little bit more about what the actual posts are.
Yeah, Joe?
Yep, thank you, Chair. These are frontline reablement carer posts, Councillor Pritchard, and have been vacant for many years now. We are practically in a standstill position where we are able to recruit, we lose people primarily through retirement. So there is no change to the impact of the service. We are taking out vacant posts that are very hard to fill. I think you will remember the onset of frailty, as you've said, 25 years ago. So we are looking now at actually that model and how we operate. We've moved much more to an assessment service with a reablement focus rather than distinct arms to the care part of the service.
Thank you. And then I've got a third question, which is about...
No, sorry, you can come in after.
Oh.
Councillor Bishop.
Thank you, Chair. Just two for me. While I appreciate that the alternatives to compulsory redundancies are being explored. Could you outline the impact the staff reduction will have on frontline services, as well as the potential impact on cost to residents on the inspection, safeguarding and care of vulnerable adults?
Okay, don't all. Anyone want this? Joe?
Oh, okay. Thank you, Chair. I think, Councillor Bishop, we have to make a case for each post that is deleted. The business case has to stack up, and it has to be a post we can delete. Currently, we are not supporting any staff in frontline care posts to exit the organisation because of the impact on service. So as you rightly said, there are no compulsory redundancies, and we are not looking to reduce those staff currently.
Thank you. Can I ask about the rest of the frontline services other than social care? Thank you, Joe. That was perfect.
The rest of the services. Who's Mark?
Again, Chair, there's all the very best being done to protect frontline services and to avoid compulsory job losses in frontline services wherever possible. We're looking at management structures, other efficiencies to protect the front line.
Okay, thank you.
Second question. How will the council measure whether the additional burden on residents through the council tax is delivering tangible improvements to the services of the council?
Okay, Jamie, Leader of Council.
Thank you, Councillor Bishop. You can't get nothing for nothing. Council tax has got to go up. I've said that various times. Frontline services was mentioned by yourself just then. What are we going to do to protect frontline services? A 50% massive increase in cleaner and greener. That would be a protection of the frontline services and could see more personnel employed. Social services being mentioned. £690,000 growth in kinship payments. £9.6 million increase in adult and social care. I think that's to be welcomed. £3.7 million more for schools. Caerphilly's got the fourth highest per pupil spend in Wales. Foundational living wage going up to £13.45. This council was the first council in Wales to implement the national foundation living wage, and that's going to put more money in the pockets of our workforce. There's many things I could go on about here, but we are investing in many things. We've got a £500 million place shaping programme that's going to invest across the county borough, many new projects. So yeah, at the end of the day, council tax, I've said it many times, if you're going to freeze council tax, you'll have to find £7 million more. And where's that going to come from? And that's the question. Thanks, Chair.
Okay, thank you.
Can I just come in quickly? Kinship payments, aren't they mean tested payment anyway?
Rob?
I don't believe they're means tested, but Gareth Jenkins, Director of Children's Services, is online and should be able to assist you with that.
Okay, Gareth?
Yeah. Yes, thank you. At the moment, kinship carers are not means tested, but special guardianship order carers are. And this is a way of actually addressing that. So under the new proposals, there will be no means testing.
Okay, Ed?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Just to return to Councillor Bishop's earlier question about how we will measure the impact of this. Members will be aware that we've put together a Measures That Matter dashboard to manage the performance of the council against the things that our residents expect this council to deliver and deliver well. This was part of the initiative we started when I came into post about a year ago in terms of doing the basics really well. So we've worked with you as members to set out what those things are. We report those things from a performance perspective on an ongoing basis. And of course, as we move forward, you'd expect to see those performance measures increase, or you would also expect me to say there will often be occasions when perhaps there's a blip on the road. But that will be in front of members, so you can keep an eye on that yourselves as well and see how we're doing. Thanks, Chair.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Priest. Even though I don't think he's there at the minute. Okay, I'll take Brenda Miles, Councillor Miles first, and then go back to Denver.
Thank you, Chair.
I only want to make 2 points, as time, I think, is limited when people will have so many questions to ask in this meeting. But the first point I want to make is about the effectiveness of this scrutiny meeting. The draft budget proposals were published less than 2 weeks ago, and it allows little time to make inquiries about them. And considering also the number of members here and the time constraints on pursuing lines of inquiry, as we've heard already, there's been a lot of debate about CCTV. I do feel that the impact that this meeting could have on the proposals is actually quite limited, constrained as we are in time. And it's an example, I think, of the view that we've seen expressed in the Wales Audit Wales report and the panel performance assessment, where they commented that the scrutiny function at Caerphilly does need improvement. And I do feel that we do need a better process than this for the budget setting. Moving on to the report itself, I am going to touch, as Mariam Kamish did, on Appendix 4 and the libraries, but I'll try not to stray into areas that are inappropriate for this meeting. But there are in that area cost savings anticipated from the closure of 10 libraries. The decision was taken in May to close those libraries, but it has not been implemented because of the High Court judicial review that's pending. Now, what I know in general terms of judicial reviews is that they're a lengthy and potentially costly process. And it could take like 12 months or more for a judgment to come down. And it could cost a lot of money as well, thousands of pounds. So how then can we build into the budget a cost saving in 26-27 of 119,000? I'd also like to know how much has already been spent on legal fees and paying the claimant's costs in this case, and how much money would need to be set aside to defend the case at a full judicial review hearing. But my point is that given the timescales and the uncertainty around the judicial review, and I'd also add to that the fact that we haven't been able to achieve cost savings because the libraries have remained open so far, it's an unpopular decision. There's opposition to the closures, and I would like to call on the this committee to recommend that those proposals for cost savings be taken out of the budget for all those reasons. We can't guarantee that they will happen as planned. But I'd also like to further call on the Cabinet to review their decision to close the 10 libraries for the reasons I've said. They're unpopular and all that. And to bring forward instead alternative proposals for achieving efficiency savings while retaining public libraries within the smaller communities to achieve better outcomes for residents. And I'm going to quote something that Councillor Pritchard...
There's quite a few questions in there,
I'm just going to finish up. I'm just going to finish, if I may, just one sentence.
Go on.
I just wanted to quote something that was in the press that Councillor Pritchard said, Councillor Jamie Pritchard. We need to reinvest in our communities. And I agree with that. And I think it's very true when it comes to the libraries. Thank you.
Well, if it's in the press, it must be 100% right. But can I just say, first of all, on your first point, this is the beginning of the consultation process, not the end. Tonight, you will have plenty of opportunity to feed into the consultation of these proposals between now and even up until budget night. You will even be able to have your say there. So they say you've only had them 2 weeks, yeah, but there's still over a month to go. So plenty, ample time. If we give them 6 months ago, you still wouldn't have been happy. Ed?
Thanks, Jill. I think Councillor Miles has a couple of very valid points that you've picked up on, both the PPN Audit Wales's recommendations around Scrutiny Committee and our performance improving. There'll be a task and finish group put together to try and help address that. But it'd be remiss of me really to just comment on the sheer volume of work that our colleagues in finance put into getting these papers together. We're often running up against the deadlines, appreciate that, but we do meet all of the deadlines as set out in our constitution. And I think you'll also appreciate personally that Leanne and colleagues have reached out to all groups and independent members for meetings on the budget, walked you through the savings, and I think also dealt with any questions that you've raised via email in the run-up to this evening. That offer continues from this point forward. So appreciate it's tough. I think it's probably very, very tough for Leanne and her colleagues to get all this in a format that that members can engage in easily. I'd like to suggest that the papers in front of you this evening are a real step forward in that regard, but our door remains open in terms of any challenges or queries you have along the way. Thanks, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Roy Sorrellis.
Thank you, Chair. My apology, first of all, for not being in the chamber. I'm suffering from a heavy cold, and selfishly, I'm keeping all my germs at home, okay? I've got a question on leisure services. Last year, the council proposed large increase in pitch fees, as well as corporate fees for our leisure centres. This year, it's 3% across the board, and I'd like to ask, are the same pressures still there? Are we achieving full cost recovery? And if we are not, what are we doing about it? Thank you, Chair.
Okay, Jeff.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor, and thanks, Councillor Sorrellis, for the question. In terms of the fees for the use of parks and grass pitches, etc., those financial pressures that led to last year's proposed increases are still present. Rising energy costs, staffing costs, inflation continue to impact upon the parks budget. And whilst this year's 3% increase will offset some of those pressures, service is still quite a long way from achieving full cost recovery. The Park Service is currently part of the wider transformation review, which is examining long-term sustainability in service delivery models. It's important for members to note that simply increasing fees won't fully resolve those financial pressures, and in fact can, in some instances, discourage the work that we're doing in terms of community asset transfer, and we're working closely with a lot of clubs and organisations in that respect. I'd like to make members, or take this opportunity to make members aware that there is a planned community asset transfer event scheduled for the 25th of February at T Penalta, and we'll be working hard to encourage as many clubs and organisations as we can to attend to support us in achieving our aims in that respect.
Okay, nice plug, well done. Okay.
Just to say, I did pose some questions in my contribution, and I haven't had any answers yet. So you've sort of moved on quite quickly to the next item.
Okay, Mark, can you remember what the questions were?
I can, Chair, because I've sent Councillor Miles a written response to those very questions earlier today. They relate to the inclusion of libraries in this year's budget, or next year's budget, sorry, and the judicial review. It's left in the budget because that judicial review, for all we know, might be dealt with in early April. It might be, 12 months away. Who knows? So it's been left in the budget. If the judicial review is not dealt with, or if the decision of the judicial review is not the way that it is intended to be as we've set out, then we will have to revisit that. The one thing I will say, and I've said it at the end of my written response to you, Councillor Miles, is if these savings are not achieved, so if the judicial review quashes what we want to do, or if they're not achieved, then those savings will have to be found elsewhere from the council's budget. So that means something else we'll have to give in terms of finding that saving. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, so does the written and the verbal one match up, does it?
Sorry, I think I did see an email coming in from Mark, but I haven't had time to digest it fully. But thank you for that response verbally. I also alluded to the fact that I wonder whether the Cabinet, given the circumstances around the library decision, would be minded to reconsider and review that decision due to the ongoing campaign and opposition to it and the unpopularity of it.
That'll be up to them to make the decisions when they meet in Cabinet. They're not having a Cabinet meeting in here tonight, thank you very much. Okay, Councillor Eade, please.
With all the excitement, I've completely forgotten where I was.
Oh, well, that's good. I can move on then.
No, it's all right. Unfortunately for you, I've found where I am. So there's a lot of recommendations, again, in section 3.1.1, and there's stuff about council tax, savings, fees, growth items, transformation targets. So I've got a couple of questions on some of those specifics. The first one is a sub-bullet point VI6, that is, can officers set out what the cumulative council tax impact has been on households in this county borough over the last 5 years, and how this budget aligns with affordability for our residents during this cost of living crisis?
Okay, Mark or Leanne? Mark, Leanne.
Yeah, obviously I don't have the last 5 years to hand, but what I can talk about in general is the council tax. So Caerphilly is the second lowest council tax in Wales, and it is, I think it's £233 less than the average council tax across Wales, which is about 13%. So even with this rise, it will still be lower than its neighbouring authorities.
Could you provide that calculation in a written response later, Leanne?
Yes, I can.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Next one.
And then I've just got a general question about the across, there's lots of tables in the budget which I haven't really had time to fully analyse. But could you explain where the financial risk actually is sitting in the budget? Is it with residents, with services, or is it put back to future years? And why is that distribution being judged acceptable?
Sorry, I'm not sure what you mean by the financial risk. So the budget has been balanced, and it's by a range of different proposals. So the council tax, the savings.
So that's kind of what I'm saying. We've managed to balance our budget, haven't we, through a combinations of lots of different things. So is the risk with some of the cost savings that we've done? Is the risk with the fees that impact on residents? Is the risk to do with what you've put back into the future years? Because we've seen in the reserves that there's a forecast of reserves being reduced quite drastically in the next few years. We're having to, don't like to use the word sticking plaster, but we're having to plaster over cracks, aren't we? So, where do you think, Leanne, the biggest risk is in not just this budget, future budgets, I would say?
Okay, thank you. Thank you for clarifying as well. So overall, we've got risk obviously with inflation because we've allowed for 2%, and we don't know what's going to happen. That is the Bank of England forecast, but we've seen inflation running above that at the moment. There's also a risk in terms of demand for our services. So we have made forecasts of what that demand will be, but we will have to monitor it closely. To mitigate those risks, we have set aside the risk and contingency reserve. So we've got our general fund reserve for those type of things, and we have also recommended we keep the social services reserve. And obviously, there are risks around savings delivery as well, but we have put in a governance process for tracking all those savings delivery. They are reported now to Scrutiny on a quarterly basis where we brag those savings. And I think historically we have got a good track record of delivering those savings.
That's great. Diolch yn fawr. Appreciate that answer.
Okay, thank you. Ed?
Sorry, Chair. Apologies, members, if you know what a brag is, right? But it's certainly not that we're bragging about the savings that we've delivered. It's blue, red, amber, green. So it's based on delivered successfully or red, obviously being a risk attached. Just thought it was worth explaining that.
Thank you. Okay. Councillor Minton, welcome to your first scrutiny, I believe.
Diolch, Llywydd. Given the Council's declared climate emergency and its commitment to achieving net zero, can officers explain how the 26-27 budget will specifically support biodiversity enhancement and decarbonisation measures within our communities? Diolch.
Okay, who wants
Ben Winstanley is online, Chair.
Okay,
we'll be able to come in on that. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the question. So Councillor, you may well have had an opportunity to look at our decarbonisation strategy. In there are various different examples. We've split it into 4 different areas, which is reduce, produce, offset and buy. So that is our route map to net zero, how we're intending to deliver those savings. There's various different actions contained within that decarbonisation plan. So within there is tree planting kind of initiatives in the offsetting section. There's also some fantastic work with our procurement colleagues done around reducing the carbon footprint of the suppliers that we use, working with them better. The producing side of things, there's some renewable energy installations within council buildings, which links back really nicely to that invest to save pot that we're proposing in this budget here as well. That will really strengthen our position moving forward to be able to invest in energy saving technology that is expensive up front but will deliver savings further down the line. And yeah, the energy efficiency one, there's a lot of boring stuff around LED lighting and controls and stuff that I could talk all night on, but yeah, that'll be sort of the main examples.
Okay, do you want to come back in?
Yeah, diolch Ben. That all sounds brilliant. What about the biodiversity enhancements as well?
Okay, Ben.
That's not specifically my area in terms of how we're looking after. So that we've got a parks team that will have certain kind of cutting agendas, etc., in around the parks. I don't know if Jeff Reynolds wants to pick up there, but if you specifically look at the areas around the offsetting, we've got some work around the tree planting and the biodiversity section in there, but that's more around carbon sequestration than it is biodiversity.
Okay, Mark.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, we've done quite a lot of work as a Parks Department in recent years with members around things like Nature is Neat, No More May, although we didn't exactly do No More May this year, but we've tried in previous years. So there's lots of work going on in terms of biodiversity, increasing pollinators, not mowing so often. Lots of work done, and members of Scrutiny have been heavily involved in that, in helping us shape and define those areas where we allow biodiversity to take over, rather than us mowing and keeping the area looking like a bowling green.
Okay, thank you. Good. Councillor Walter Williams, please.
Thank you, Chair. My question is regarding page 43, 5.3.7, employer pension contributions reduction. In 2025, I chaired a few meetings of pension and compensation, and we had a lot of employers taking early retirement to avoid, if you like, redundancies. Now, 2026, I think we're going to have quite a few more. So if we're going to put less money in the fund and take more out, how resilient is this fund? Does it have, what sort of money is in there? Can we afford this reduction?
Okay, Leanne.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, so this is in terms of our actual pension fund. So they've done an independent triannual valuation, and it supports the reduction of this. And we could either take a reduction of employers' contributions of 1% a year for the next 3 years, or 3% in this year, which would help with our budget. And we have opted to take the 3% this year, but it doesn't have any impact on people taking their pension. It is the assessment of the fund and how well it's performing at the moment, and that's been seen across Wales. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Could I have a second question regarding?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's regarding single working, lone working. I presume if the council does cut any CCTV operatives and leaves one person in there, there will be an health and safety look at how a person is going to get information out if he's on his own in one room. Because if someone has a heart attack, it doesn't always give them opportunity to phone for help. So I think we should look at this regarding health and safety before we look at saving money. Thank you.
And I know the answer to that. Marcus?
Yes, thank you for the question, Councillor. Thank you, Chair. Obviously, health and safety is paramount, and we will obviously undertake any risk assessments needed and make sure they're in place for any changes that we make, and look at what other options there are to make sure that we have coverage that should any such incident happen, that it would be covered to make sure that anything could be reported and dealt with immediately.
Okay.
Thank you, Marcus.
Well, and Walter, I can tell you, many people have heart attacks alone, not just on work. We go to Councillor Sean Morgan now, please.
Thank you, Chair. It's been an interesting debate tonight. I'd just like to say that I agree with so much of what Ms. Leanne Dallimore spoke about, and the union's view. It's very clear that Keir Starmer and the Labour administration in London are continuing the 14 years of Tory cutbacks to public services. There's absolutely no change. And from the conversations tonight, it very much seems as though this is now becoming such a significant issue that we are pitting one public service against another. And I talk about what was talking about the CCTV cutbacks, which it very much seems that those efficiencies having to be made to achieve workable budgets. Councillor John Roberts spoke about it, Leanne Dallimore spoke about it. In fact, Councillor Dix also spoke about it. And we've got to the stage where it's, is it the police's job or is it the council's job to have CCTV in place? Councillor Dix said it's increasingly important for policing as police budgets are being shrunk. Well, it is certainly important for council budgets, and I'm not sure if the police are going to roll out the lawnmowers and cut the grass on behalf of the council. So I'm not sure if we should be doing what can be seen as the police work. And again, I will go on because Ms. Marion Camish spoke about the cutbacks with the libraries. Councillor Miles has pointed out that judicial reviews are very costly. Let's make this clear. A council has to deliver a balanced budget. It cannot. We would certainly have the commissioners in if we didn't have a balanced budget. And if a council was not to make any decisions because of the concerns around a costly judicial review of a decision having been made, then a council would make no decisions. And we are certainly not in a position where we can make no decisions. I do have a question.
Oh, good. I was wondering, Sean, if you did have one or not.
Let's be fair, Chair. Scrutiny is not just for asking questions. It is also about opinions, and it also is about debating what other speakers may have said before. So I feel the justified in making that introduction to my question. I would like to say that I very much agree with the continuation of 100% of any service directorate revenue underspends being transferred back into the general fund reserve, which I think is outlined in paragraph 5.3. What I would like to know, that decision was made some time ago. What I would like to know is has this led in any way to any service areas, perhaps spending unnecessarily or doing that race against time to spend their budgets before the deadline, before they have to give that money back? Has this led to any unnecessary spending in that regard? Because sometimes in trying to pursue revenue savings, it sometimes can turn round the other way. So I wonder if I could have an answer on that.
Okay, anyone? Leanne?
Excuse me, Chair, if I can just come in here, it'll only be a minute. With your permission, I would like to leave the meeting, please.
Okay, Denver, no problem, mate. Have a good
Thank
night.
you. Thank you.
Leanne?
Thank you. Yep, so budget holders are responsible for spending public money, and we've put a lot of governance and improved our financial controls around that. So you've got your your quarterly monitoring that comes to scrutiny and onto cabinet. We've also got the savings assessment that we discussed earlier. We've got tight procurement regulations on how we procure stuff and how we monitor our contracts. So we've also rolled out further training for budget managers, making it very clear and ensuring that we have compliance with our financial controls. So I would say there has not been any evidence of spending money towards the end of the financial year. We're keeping a good eye on it. We've also got controls in place around vacancy management and all the things that we're doing through the transformation programme to ensure that doesn't happen. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Ian.
Thank you. Councillor Adrian Hussey.
Thank you, Chair. My question is on a positive note, no cuts. I welcome investment in cleaning and greening our communities. Can someone please tell me how residents can report areas that need attention? And will there be one point of contact to make it easier between the various council departments, i.e. waste, cleansing and highways? Thank you, Chair.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Thanks, Councillor. Yeah, so, excuse me, residents can engage through Clean and Greener through their local ward members, and we certainly encourage them to do that. Mechanisms are in train at the moment for there to be one point of contact for people to be able to request works to be undertaken as part of Cleaner and Greener. And in reference to the further investment, there'll be a report presented to Housing and Environment Scrutiny on the 10th of February, which will outline details of that proposal. And we'll seek scrutiny members' views in respect to developing the approach to cleaner and greener as we progress further.
Okay, Councillor Chris Morgan, you want to come in on this quickly, please?
Thanks, Gary. Yeah, just to say, it's a massive 50% proposal to our clean and greener budget. Please, can I stress that for it to work efficiently, that all members take part in it and make sure that when they see work and he's doing in their wards, once we get the point of contact, to get him in so we can get the lads working and cleaning up our communities. Thanks.
Brilliant. Thank you. Okay, Councillor Ariana Leonard, please.
Thanks, Chair. My question's regarding the estimated costings, really. What assumptions are used for the 26-27 pay awards and agency usages across schools and social services? And how sensitive is the budget to, say, like a 1% or a 2% variance in pay or agency rates?
Okay. Yeah.
Yep. So the pay award is based on a 3% pay award for next year. Obviously, it is an estimate at this stage, but we look backwards over what's happened and we work with the unions. In 25-26, Welsh Government actually did give us further funding for the award that was over our assumptions in our MTFP.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, Councillor Enright, you'll be.
Thanks, Chair. Very quick one, if I may. It's around council tax, as you would expect, I suppose. I disagree with the proposed 6.25% on a number of levels, really. But I'm mindful that the council tax is made up of various areas. And some of those areas, correct me if I'm wrong, is the precept from the police and the fire service. So I'm just curious as to, are we aware of their position in regards to what they're looking for this financial year, and how are we managing their expectation? So it actually goes back to Councillor Morgan's comment about, the police cutting our grass, etc., etc. I'll give you an example. If they're looking for 2.5%, how are we managing their expectation and not just putting it on the tax, council tax bill for us to be taking a big stick from the residents? Thanks, Chair.
Okay, Leanne.
Thank you. So we have made an estimate for the fire service, and that is included within the draft budget proposals based on consultation with them before. But in terms of the police and town councils, that will come as they consult on their own budgets.
So, sorry, Chair, can I just come back very quickly? How do we manage their expectation in regards to the example I've just given you?
Ed?
It's a very good question, Councillor Enright. Leanne's just mentioned the discussions that we had with the fire service. In fact, we had the Chief Fire Officer in to talk to us about their intentions. So it was very much a consultation and a discussion on what they intended to do. But I think ultimately they make a request of us, and we've got very little opportunity to push back beyond that. What they did do very successfully with us in that meeting is talk us through some of the approaches they've been taking to drive efficiencies and make sure their costs are as low as they can possibly be. Referring to earlier points made about public sector bodies fighting with other public sector bodies for a pot of cash that's just not big enough. I think you're hearing that at length this evening, but we are all working very closely to try and keep our costs as low as possible. Thanks.
Okay, and Mark has informed me the Gwent Police and thing is meeting on the 30th, Gary, so hopefully we would know then.
Okay, thanks, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Teresa Parry, please.
Thank you very much, Chair. Just with rent increases for our council properties, along with the council tax hike, it's putting a great strain on our tenants, and all our residents have been hit with a rise in the cost of living, without wage or benefit increases to counter these additional charges. Can I ask, what help will this council be giving residents to help manage and navigate these expenses? I am against this 6.25 increase in council tax. I think perhaps I would like this, the cabinet to relook at that and see if we can do a reduction. That would be helpful.
Okay, Leanne.
Thank you. So as I said, with the proposed 6.25% increase, Caerphilly will still be the second. It is the second lowest for council tax in Wales at the moment, and it's like that we will still be lower than our neighbours. I'm told our rents are also the third lowest in Wales. But in terms of help and support, we obviously will signpost people, and there is the council tax reduction scheme.
Okay, thank you. I get two more speakers now. Andrew Fianna-Childs and then Councillor Bishop. Okay, Andrew?
Thank you, Chair. My question is in relation to the proposed 1% cut in education budget. Obviously, we've got concerns about the impact this will have on our children in both mainstream and ALN. I was just wondering, what sort of notice have the schools been given about this proposal for the cut in the budget, please?
Okay. Rob?
Okay. Thank you, Councillor. Thank you for the question. So I can't give you an exact date, but this target has been a feature of the financial modelling and planning that we've been undertaking with our schools for quite some time. So it is something that they are aware of, and as I say, would have featured in their planning. I mean, I understand the point that you're highlighting. I think it's important to appreciate that schools represent 32% of the council's budget, so it's an extremely challenging financial situation for all parts of the public sector, all parts of the council. But schools do make up a significant part of the council's revenue budget. We are putting £3.7 million in this budget proposal. There are proposals for £3.7 million worth of growth going into our schools. Cabinet took a decision at the end of last year to delegate the additional support budget around additional learning needs. So this isn't new money, although actually there has been some recent additional Welsh Government grant funding around ALN. But although that's not new money, it is money that we are passing to schools so that they have the flexibility to manage those funding and meet needs and perhaps appoint permanent staff.
Jamie?
Yeah, thanks, Gary. As Rob has said, £3.7 million more for schools. It isn't a 1% cut. It's about managing within the budgets. Caerphilly's got the fourth highest per pupil spend in the whole of Wales. We're building lots of schools. We've got an ambitious 21st Century Schools programme. I think the name has changed, Sustainable Communities for Learning. So no, our authority over the years, over many years actually, predating this administration, has invested in schools. So that is not a case that we are cutting schools. Rents was mentioned by Councillor Parry, the third lowest in Wales. We got our own housing stock. We manage our own housing stock. We haven't farmed it off to a private sector provider or anything like that. We believe in council housing. We're building more council housing. All that's got to be paid for. You know, we've got a big reserve in terms of our HRA, 30-odd million pounds. That can't be touched for obvious reasons. The money coming in through the HRA clearly pays for improvements in our council housing. So we're delivering for council housing tenants. Look, we've got many other things. Council members were telling us last year, don't touch home to school transport. We're not touching home to school transport. We're retaining within the statutory distances. We're not going out to the statutory distances. Other local authorities around us are having a bit of a hard time, it must be said, by going out to the Welsh Government's statutory distance. We've got the Children's Commissioner actually lobbying Welsh Government to reduce it because she feels that's an issue that people have been raising. And of course it is, and we've heard that loud and clear. We're not going to do any school crossing patrols changes. That was a big issue last year, so we're not going to do it. We're proposing a below inflation 3% fees and charges across the board. That's got to be paid for. And we're investing in our events programme. That's got to be paid for. We've had the Tour of Britain, and now we're getting the Tour de France to Caerphilly because we're ambitious. All this has got to be paid for. Does anybody want to be paying 6.25 if they don't receive any of that? No, they don't. But this has got to be seen in the context. It takes money to invest in public services, and I think this budget is investing in public services. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Bishop, next. Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry, Chair. I didn't prepare a closing speech. I have got a couple of extra questions. Thanks to Councillor Sean Morgan for one of them. So first of all, police and the council, no, we wouldn't expect them to mow our lawns. What we do expect them to do is work as a multi-agency framework like they do within social services, like they do going into our schools. You know, so you can offset vandalism with antisocial behaviour. So we're not paying to clean that up. Defacing of public property, CCTV. You know, there's not really a massive difference. Defacing of public property, I'm assuming, costs an awful lot of money to replace. But so there's that one. And secondly, AI investment is increasing productivity, or aiding in increasing productivity, which is reducing our financial burden. Am I right? Yeah. Okay. So in light of our net zero and AI having a massive impact on the environment, how are we offsetting this? Thank you.
Okay. Ed? I
think it's probably going to be a combination of Liz Lucas, who is Mrs. AI as far as this council is concerned, and Mr. Winstanley, I suspect. Okay. I don't know who wants to take the lead.
Okay, fight for it then, both.
I'll happily go for the energy question.
Okay, Ben,
and I'll let Liz follow in with the AI one. So I think there's two things there. You're talking about energy demand. What every year that we report our carbon footprint, we calculate it quite fastidiously against the Welsh Government approved methodology, which is the same for all public services in Wales. Part of that is the amount of emissions that we do around running our buildings for things like running our computers, etc., etc. In the four cores that I spoke about earlier, one of them is the initiative is called Reduce. So within there we're looking at either reducing our energy consumption by investing in more efficient machines, or by offsetting that power by installing solar panels or deriving it from on-site local generation. That's working in schools and in our office buildings as well. So that's the demand side of things we're working at. Obviously, I can't do anything where the energy is being used, but we can look at our footprint of what we're in control of within our buildings. Hopefully that gives you my side. Liz, over to you.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Chair.
We're very much in the early days of our implementation of AI within the local authority. And to date, we've been very, very cautious, and that is on a number of reasons. One, from a security point of view. Number two, AI to deploy is very, very expensive, and we want to make sure that we are getting value for money. But obviously, carbon is the third. So we are working with Welsh Government, the WLGA. We are looking at the standards and the strategy for the implementation of AI into a local authority such as Caerphilly, and we'll be working within those standards and those principles going forward. We do not know the full impact of carbon on our AI usage, but that will form part of all business cases going forward. And hopefully I'll be able to give members more information on this as we progress our discovery and deploy it further in the local authority. So I hope that answers the question, but it is very, very early days for us.
Okay, thank you, Liz. Okay, the last question's going to Kevin Etheridge.
Thank you, Gary. Been mentioned here tonight about the possible 6.25%. Could I ask the officer, 3% uplift on all service fees, how they come to this formula of 3%? And does the leader think it's reasonable on top of the 6.25%? Thank you.
Okay, Officer Leanne first, and then quick reply, please, Leader, if you've ready.
Do I think it's reasonable for a below inflation rise in fees and charges? Yes. I mean, obviously, it's a couple of 100,000, I think it's 300,000. I think sports pitches, we've learned a lesson from last year. It went up too much, and I've said that publicly. 3% across the board, I think, is a level playing field, and it's caused no opposition as far as I can see. Thanks.
Yeah, Leanne.
Yeah, I think that's all been captured, but we have to put our fees and charges up. Our costs are going up by inflation and pay award, and as Jamie said, it is below the current rate of inflation. Thank you.
Okay, we have got Kevin's motion. So, do you want to read it out, Mark? You can say that, everyone.
Sorry, Chair. Can I just offer an observation about this before you go into this? Tonight, I think you've said quite correctly that this is part of the consultation process on the budget. The budget proposals only came before Cabinet last week. I think the emotion is premature, very premature actually, and we have the Cabinet's been here tonight. The Cabinet have heard what some members think about CCTV. They will obviously mull over that now during the consultation period, and then the Cabinet will then put together budgetary proposals on the 24th of February, when it will be the Council that makes a decision about whether or not to approve the budget or not. And that's my point, really, that if members have a view and don't like CCTV, then that will be their opportunity to vote for or against the budget. If they vote against that aspect of the budget, you'll hear officers say this everywhere throughout England and Wales, that portion of the budget that's within the draft budget has to be found somewhere else. So if members are unhappy about the CCTV proposals, would you please have a think about where that money is going to come from? So, Chair, in conclusion, I don't think there is a necessity tonight to have a vote on a motion in that the Cabinet have clearly heard that some members are less than happy about the CCTV proposals, but it is, at the end of the day, a matter for you. We're not voting on anything tonight. This is part of the consultation process. Thank you.
Right. It's down to the members. I'm going to let the members here tonight now, if they wish to progress with this notice of motion, or would they prefer... So I say you can put your notice of motion, Kevin, and let the members vote on it.
Thank
Whether
you.
Vote for or against.
Thank you, Gary. So the notice of motion is, I believe, Well, you've got it down there.
Yeah.
The recommendation to
Mark will read it out for us.
Yeah,
Okay.
could I just say, if we vote against this, I believe we put in the public at risk in the whole of the county borough. Thank you. I appreciate this on your recommendation.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair. So, as Councillor Etheridge outlined there, and the monitoring officer before that, this is part of the consultation process, and a motion has been put forward by Councillor Etheridge, and it's been seconded by Councillor Jan Jones, and that motion is that this joint scrutiny committee calls for no reduction in the operating hours and working times of the CCTV control room. So that's the question, the motion that's been put forward. As I say, it's been moved and seconded, and so a poll will arrive on your screens.
Okay, I've got Councillor Morgan on. Quick response, please, Sean.
Yeah, before we go to the vote on that, Chair, I was wondering if there was going to be a discussion on Councillor Etheridge's motion.
We have had the discussion already.
We've had a discussion, but not actually directly around this motion. We just talked about generally about the CCTV. What we haven't done is discuss directly this notice of motion. And I would like to challenge Councillor Etheridge and his putting forward of a notice of motion before it goes to a vote. Surely we are allowed to discuss something which is put in front of us. And what I would like to say is I know that Councillor Etheridge is very fond of and has on many occasions talked about the need for consultation and listening to consultation. And I would like to challenge Councillor Etheridge's notice of motion, which is a preemptive notice of motion put before us before we have even been out to consultation on these proposals. So I would ask Councillor Etheridge if he does actually support consultation, that he would now withdraw his notice of motion and allow the consultation process to go forward. And at the end of the consultation process, if he feels that the Cabinet hasn't listened to that he could then bring forward this notice of motion. But I think he's been a bit preemptive in bringing it forward right now. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, but you have a right to vote against this motion now tonight, Sean. So, you know, it goes both ways.
Yeah. No, but we should also be allowed and we should have the right to discuss the notice of motion directly, and that's all I'm wishing to do. Yes, I wish.
You've just had your
yes. I'm gonna vote against Councillor Etheridge's notice of motion, but I think it's important for debate to occur, and therefore I think it's not just. I would like other people to know my version of this and my discussion on this. I think it's imperative upon us to hear everybody's version of what their opinion is on Councillor Etheridge's notice of motion.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Sorrellis.
Thank you, Chair.
You're Mike. You made it yourself, Roy.
Sorry, if this is an amendment in some way that Councillor Sean Morgan is putting forward, then I would support it. As the officer says, we're preempting something at the moment. We haven't fully discussed it. It can come. The Cabinet have listened to the comments that have been made, and at a later stage, the matter can be looked at in more light. So I think that at this stage, we are making a decision that we really should shouldn't be making. We are in the process of consultation. So I would put forward an amendment that this notice of motion comes forward at a later time after full consultation and after the cabinet have fully discussed it.
If you don't like it, Roy, vote against it. You know, that's as simple as
Well, voting against means that the motion is totally dismissed. And I think we need the opportunity to discuss it further, if need be.
Chair, can I come in?
Okay, Councillor Craigie, please.
Yeah, I completely understand the arguments raised by the fellow members and the monitoring officer. I do think it's premature to have a notice of motion on this because we don't know all of the detail, do we? I mean, I share Councillor Etheridge's very real concerns, as I think most of the councillors in this chamber, and indeed anybody that's concerned about safety out there in our environment, about proposals to reduce CCTV. Now, we've been reassured that it will still continue to be a 24-hour manned thing, but there's still some grey areas about the number of people on shifts, Marcus. But if I was to vote on that today, I would be voting on the basis of incomplete information. I've got 90%, I've maybe got 90%, but I haven't got that 10%. So I think Councillor Sir Alice, Councillor Morgan are entirely right to ask to delay this until such a time we have all of the information and we can make an informed decision. As it stands at the moment, I'll probably vote against it because I don't believe in diluting any kind of safety to our residents, but I can't make that decision today because I don't have the full information. So I agree with you.
Chair, we're going into a lot of scaremongering here. There is no reduction in manning. The manning is still as it was. There's either 2 or 3 people on duty. As the officers have informed us. I mean, we're in a scaremongering situation here.
I didn't intend to scaremonger.
Let's be sensible about it. Let's be sensible about it.
Roy, be quiet, please. Right? I've spoken with Kevin. I'm going to make a decision. We will leave it for another meeting. Okay? I think that would be the best thing. Yeah, go on.
On a point of order, could I ask the monitoring officer to please write to me along the lines of when an elected member puts a motion down at scrutiny for cabinet and it is seconded, where it says in the constitution that it can now be deferred or moved at a later date, please. Thank you.
Can you do that, please, Mr. Trumper?
Yes, I'll have a go, Chair. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Okay, members. Okay, members. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you for your understanding. Okay, members. The meeting is now over. Thank you very much. Good night. Thanks, Kevin.
Good night.
Ugh.
Night. Thanks.